welcome. So in this video, we will see datasets in SAC. Okay. There are two types of datasets in SAC. One is embedded dataset, one is public dataset. It's also called standalone datasets. Okay. Embedded datasets are embedded into a story and are unique to that story. That means you cannot create another story using the same embedded dataset. They cannot be saved outside the story or refreshed. That means these are specific to that story. Whereas public datasets, you can create like multiple stories on this public dataset. These are standalone datasets, can be saved among different stories. Okay. Both datasets can be enhanced with basic data preparation like transformations. All these things you can do. And neither dataset can be scheduled for you cannot schedule a refresh in the datasets. You must manually re-import data to update it. And also, if you import data from file, you can re-import compatible file. That means, suppose, let's say you have imported a file with 10 columns. When you are re-importing, the next other file should also have same number of columns and same column names, all these things as original file. Otherwise, it will give an error. That's what I say. A file that has same number of columns as original file when you are importing, and with the same column names and data type as in the original file. And also, both data sets, embedded and public, can be secure to allow user access to different data. To the data sets or not. We can secure the data sets by allowing access to specific users. But specific column-based or property security, however, is not supported for any datasets. For column-wise or property-wise, if you want to give security in datasets, this is not possible. Okay. So let's try to create one embedded dataset and one standalone dataset. First, create standalone dataset, which is public dataset. So here I'm in my folder. I'll go here, click on dataset. So you can create dataset from a source or graph file. So for our example, we are going to create from the file. I'll select the file. I'll select file which is on my desktop. I will take sales order item one file which has been recorded. Click on import. I'll name this as, let's say, sales order one, which is my. So make it as public data set. Description is not mandatory. I'll save this into my folder. So it's preparing the data input. It looks like this. I have some 12 records in the file. And when we created a model, it will come as with measures, dimensions that we use. Whereas for dataset, it looks like this. And right side, you can see the dataset overview. And here you can see measures and dimensions. Here sales order item is not a measures to dimension. I'll change this to dimension. And if you can do transformations here, concatenate, split, extract, replace, change, filter. Okay, and if you click on any column, you can click on create transformation, change base, or duplicate the column, delete column. All these options are there. And here you can see, if you want to see the properties of this column, you click on this details. So you will see the column properties. Okay. And here you can see this transform bar if you don't want to see that. And if you want custom expression editor, not the transform, if you want custom expression, you can pick this. Okay, and you can do geo enrichments. And here you can create level-based hierarchy. So we have two types of hierarchies, parent-child and level-based hierarchy. But in data sets, you can only create level-based hierarchies, not the parent-child. Okay. Then transpose column to rows, remove duplicate rows, re-import data, all these options are there. So let's save this public data set. Now I have saved this my public data set. Okay, I can create story on this public data set. I can create multiple stories, okay, using this public data set. So as I said earlier, public data set are see, public data sets are standalone data sets and can be shared among different stories. You can create multiple stories on it. Basically, these data sets, either public or embedded, these are mainly used for ad hoc reporting. If you have some data and if you want to quickly do some reporting, okay, without creating model, all these things, you can directly do this. Okay, let's create some simple story here. Create a table. So this is on public data set. The story is based on. This is some so like this. You can create one story on the public data set. Let's save this. Yes, public data set. So let's go back. Open the. You can see the data set which we created is here. Public data set sales order and the story on that. Now if I open again, the data set is used in one dependency system below. Any changes to the data set may require updates to. Yeah, we have created a story based on this public data set, right? If you make any changes in this data set, this will be impacted the story. Okay. So now, as I said, I can re-import the data again into this public data set. Okay, what I did is I created another file. This is my file which I loaded into public data set. Here it has some 13 columns, still delivery date. In this file, what I did is I created same everything. I added one more column like time and I made it a blank here, one column extra. Let me try to re-import data into this public data set. This time I use different file. As I said, it should not allow because when you are importing, it should have same exact file structure as the original one and the column names and data types everything. But here we have an extra column. Let me import and see whether it will allow or not. Face an error. Re-import is allowed only when all columns match in terms of names and data type. The original data source has 13 columns and the new data source has 14 columns. That's why it's not allowed. Okay, but you can re-import using, like suppose in the same first file. If you added some extra records without any extra columns or anything, you can re-import that data. This time it will because I'm using the same file without any modifications to the file structure. Yeah, see, import is successful. And you can create another story again with new story. Okay, let me save this first because we re-import it. Yeah, so you can create new story again by using this standalone name. I'm not going to do that. So that's about public data set. Now let's go to embedded data set. Embedded data set is story specific. So I go back. So let's say you want to analyze some data quickly by creating a story, and you don't want to create any model, or even if you don't want to create a public data set, you can directly create a story. So how to do that? Click on story and click on responsive. So here what you can do is you can select here like under the tools you have some option called add new data. So when you click that, it will give some options like you want to create from a file, data from file, data from data source, or data set like existing model or data set. So I'm going to create using file. I have data and I want some ad hoc analysis, do some ad hoc reporting analysis. So I'm going to take this time to I didn't have any data set or anything. So I'm directly creating a story from file. So when you create a story directly from this means it will create an embedded data set. And that is specific to only this story. Let's wait for so it will go into data preparation. We are in story from when we import the file and it came here. This is again similar to your public data set. Okay, let me change this order item to dimension. And remaining other options are stay. And here you can see one extra like import is saying convert to public data set. You can convert embedded data set to a public data set. Okay. These other things are all same. Let's save this. You can see this will be your data set, embedded data set name. So you can change this. So when you click on save, it says you haven't used following model in the story. Would you like to improve your story performance by removing these models? Remove. Okay. See, this is the embedded data set will be created. You want to keep it or remove it? I want to keep it. So now it's asking for the story name. So I'm going to say embedded data set story. Now save the story. You just have to exit data preparation and it will come to this story design page. So click on the left panel view, see the widgets. Let's add one table. Same columns as I want to the columns. I will add a row product ID dimension. So just say this story. Here you see you can add new data, like in case of a public data set, I mean, you will not be, once it is loaded from the file, you cannot change that source file. I mean, you cannot change the source from file to some other like SAP BW query as your source. Whereas in embedded data set, you can change your source. Currently we used file, right? You can again add new data. See, either you can use from a data source. When you click on data source, it will allow, okay, what type of data source you want to collect. For example, let's take on-premise and I have BW. Currently, I don't have any connections. That's why it's not allowing. Otherwise, if you have connections, you can change the source for embedded data set, file, data source, or existing model or data set. You can change. For example, if I select existing data set, see we have a data set which is our this is current one. Let's select go to public. See, we have a model and public dataset. You can use them as a source. So in case of embedded dataset, you can change the source type, file, or some data source from other source system or existing model or dataset. That's about this. And more thing I want to, you click this. This is embedded dataset, right? You will not be able to see in the, if you go to folder, you will not see that saved here. You see, we have story, public data set which we created. I mean, this is public data story. But embedded data set, you're not able to see here. You don't see anything with this. Yes, that is story specific only. Okay, that's how you. And if you want to re-import data, let's go here. Go to edit the embedded data set. If I want to re-import data, let's see. This time I will select the file which is here. I have one column less. Let's try to re-import that logo or not. Yeah, again, it's not allowing because re-import is allowed only when found match in terms of name data. The original data source for 13 columns, so it's not allowing, but you can re-import the data from same file which has same number of columns and data types. Whenever re-import, again, your story will also get impacted according to the data. And save this. That's about public and embedded data sets. Let's see some sharing here. We have seen converting data sets. You can convert an embedded data set to public data set. We have seen this. There is an option to convert the public data set. However, a limitation to public data set is that you cannot change its data source. As I said, if it is a public data set, suppose you have imported from a file, you can re-import from file only. You cannot change the data source. Like you cannot use uh, model or any other data source. For example, if your public data set was originally created from a flat file, but you now want to use an SAP BW query, you have no option to make that change in public data set. Embedded data sets, in other hand, do allow you to change the data source via add new data option. This we have seen. And you can also convert an embedded data set into a model. You can also convert it to public data set, and also you can convert it to model. But any transformations you have made in the data, suppose you have made any transformation as assumed in the data set, that will be lost and must be recreated in a model. So those transformations, whatever you did in data source, when you are converting to model, that will be lost. You have to again recreate them in a model. A public data set, however, cannot be converted into model. We don't have this option, you have seen, right? Only for embedded data set, we have options to convert these to public data set or model. But like public data set, we don't have this, only for embedded. And compare data set and models. Okay. Overall data sets and models combination. Data sets are perfect for ad hoc ungoverned. Ungoverned means no security is required at column level or row level, something kind of thing. Use cases based on acquired data. Models are used when the use case requires more governed data analysis and planning. If you need planning scenarios and security, then you have to go for model. Data sets will not support. That's what it is showing here. Data set use cases are best for ad hoc ungoverned means no security required data. Predictable formats created in a story or separately. You can directly create a story using a file, then create embedded data set or create data set. Data is stored as a table with separate metadata when you create this. And then data preparation. No data is deleted. Limited data management dimensions. No row level security using data sets. Whereas for models, best for governed data prefer format live data, planning use cases, all these things. And then data is overwritten, all this secure data is stored as a table with separate. So that's about data sets. And thank you.